Today's day, I'm about to be 90% independent. There's few things that I'm not able to do. What I'm done is, I tell everybody, man, I adapt to life. It's a new beginning. I don't see myself as a disabled person. I know God has a purpose with everything, and there is one saying that He don't give us more than we can handle.
Welcome
All
back
right.
to another episode of the 1%
What?
podcast.
What?
I'm your host, Shane, and that's my other co-host.
Vin, and what was that?
As we're trying something new here. I'm doing a little intro for the first time, just to
You
give a little swing of things.
you don't do the intros. You just messed up the whole flow. Start the podcast over.
It was good. I like it.
All right, we'll keep
Yours
it.
is
We'll
better.
keep it. Damn right they are. And we are also joined by my man Juan over here. Juan, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you for connecting with me and try to show my story on your podcast.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's get into that, guys. First up, before we get into that, I just want to let all the listeners know you guys are in for I don't even know how to describe it. An enormous story. I don't even know. Is that going to be enough to encompass that? Juan's like looking at me right now like I'm building him up too much. Trust me, I don't believe you're going to disappoint anyone. So all the listeners, sit back, relax. Juan, please tell people who you are, what you're up to, and I guess just give them the good story you got. What do we got going on with you, man?
Okay, my name is Juan Alejandro Amaris. A lot of people say Juan, other people say Alejo. It depends who you're talking to. I'm just a kid that I came from Colombia. I had the opportunity to fly to the United States in 1999. When I got to this country, I was away from my mom for 6 years. She left in 1993 or something like that, 1992. I don't have the exact dates, but she left for a better future, right? 6 years or 7 years later, I had the opportunity to come to the United States. I studied in Colombia. I did all my high school there, and when I graduated, I was able to come here. And when I came, I had a lot of dreams. I had a lot of I wanted to become somebody. I wanted to do something about it, but then there was a lot of doors that shut on me. One, because I didn't speak the English, I didn't speak the language. I speak Spanish. I was fluent in Spanish, but in English I was the zero. Let's say zero. Then so I started working, because if you came to this country, you have to work to survive. I mean, it's every other place. You have to pay bills, and I also help my family that it was back home in Colombia. I remember my mom's husband. He say, "You need to work. You need to study. If you study, I help you. But if you go to work, you pay bills." I wanted to have money, so I started working. Especially when I went to school. When I tried the university, they say no, because my diploma wasn't from the United States. So I have some issues there, and I found that there was so many problems to try to translate my diploma and my grades, bring it back. So I started working, man. I did valet parking. I was housekeeping for a hotel. I was landscaping. I did a little bit of carpet with my mom's husband. And then I was passionate about football, soccer, what we call soccer in my country. So I played that in a little bit, and then in a tournament, I met with a guy for a pharmaceutical company, but I couldn't go train on Tuesdays and Thursday nights because I have to work. I have to, support me and try to support my family back home or help my dad. So he said, "Come and work for my company, for my pharmaceutical company, and then you'll be able to train, and I pay you good." So I did that. I started working from 5 in the morning to like 2:30 in the afternoon every day. I was like the porter, and I didn't know what the porter was until I got there and they showed me my janitorial room, and I started doing all the job. And I didn't. I mean, I was fun because I was making good money, and I was able to train Tuesdays and Thursdays soccer. The thing is, we were gonna go to Spain and play soccer, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll be able to do something with soccer, right?" The guy ended up passing away So pretty much everything went like down the toilet, let's say like this. I feel like, man, what I'm gonna do, I don't want to see myself doing this for the rest of my life. I want to do something about it where I feel proud, you know. So since I in Colombia, I studied in a military school for 11 years. I was passionate about the military life. So one day, tired of what I was doing, I went to a recruiter, and the guy, I took the test. With all the English that I learned here in Miami, that everybody pretty much speaks Spanish. With everything that I learned, I took the test, and I was able to to pass. When I passed, man, I was like, he said, "When you want to leave?" I say, "Tomorrow." Next day, I was ready to go. He said, "No, wait, hold on. It's too fast. You're going too fast." I said, "Okay, my mom's birthday is on the 19th of February." So I say, "I'll go the next day." He said, "Okay." We were about end of January of 2001. On February 21st of 2001, I joined the military. I went very scary. I was like nervous because honestly, I didn't speak English very well. Everything that I learned, it was like, so I started worry about it, like what I'm gonna do while I'm there, and doing this. If I'm gonna take the information, if I'm gonna retain it, if I'm gonna learn, when they speak to me, I'm gonna understand everything that is being told. But
Mm.
I went, man. I passed the test and I went. It was fantastic. I think I love it. I went to basic training to Oklahoma City. I remember when we passed, I just heard people saying, when we pass the railroad tracks, we got to get ready because that's when the drill sergeant's going to start yelling. So I just, when I heard the railroad tracks, won. And it was great 6 months. I finished my basic training and my AIT. And believe it or not, I was top 3% of my class
Hey.
just without knowing English, but just because what I did while I was there is I was the first one and everything. So I let people go in front of me and I observed everything that was going on. When they get yelled, when they did wrong, I did it perfect. So they gives me times to, and then I was passionate about it. Like I love that. I love putting the uniform, putting the boots. I love being around that life. So I think that also helps me out, to understand. After that, I went to my first duty station in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. February 2000, I'm sorry, August of 2001. I went at the airborne school before I get there. So I jumped out of airplanes. And then when I got there, I went to air school, graduated. I was in the army with 7, 8 months. I had two schools in my uniform, and people ask me like, hey, how you got that down? I was like, man, probably I was in the right place at the right time. I was able to. A lot of people fail aerosol school in their first time. I did it in the first time. Thanks God. And my military went well. My military career went really well. I went to Iraq twice. The first one I went 2003 to 2004 when that uniform for Bragg. And after that, the army sent me to Alaska. I trained for a whole year with them, and then in 2005, I had the opportunity to go back to Alaska. Believe it or not, I was happy to go back because I didn't want to be in Alaska, man. Alaska was too cold for me. So I went back to Iraq, and then unfortunately, on June 20th of 2006, at the end of my second tour, I got hurt, man. I got burned 77% of my body. Due to the injuries, I have to make decisions like amputate both of my hands. I let I let my nerves grow for almost 3 or 4 years. But after looking and seeing that I was going nowhere, I decided to amputate my right hand. After speaking with a specialist about the hand, and 3 months later, I went back and what seemed that I was doing with a prosthetic. I was getting by and doing other things, and with my right hand, actually, I went to like a 12-hour surgery where the surgeon with parts of my right hand, he reconstruct my left hand, and I was able to open and close my left hand, but it hurts. I was always on pain. It was bleeding. So seeing myself using my right hand all the time, I said, you know what? I went back to the doctor and say, man, honestly, I think I'm better off with a prosthetic. This guy put his hand on his head and say, but when we just did this, you got to give him time. I say, man, I just want to. I think I'm better off with a prosthetics, and he say, "I want to give you an example. If you get a backpack right now and you try to grab something from that backpack, you won't be able to do it because you won't you won't be able to feel what's in it." I say, you know what, if I have to dump that backpack upside down, grab what I need and put everything back, that's what I'm gonna do. But I think I'm better with a prosthetic. He said, okay, it's your hand. Just remember, it's not gonna grow back. I say, okay, no problem. And I went off. He kind of took off my left hand and I put a prosthetic, man. And I say, today's day, I'm about to be 90% independent. You know, there's a few things that I'm not able to do. What I'm done is I tell everybody, man, I adapt to life, you know. It's a new beginning. I don't see myself as a disabled person, you know. I know God has a purpose with everything. And there is one saying that He don't give us more than we can handle. You know, I remember at the beginning I say, I love playing soccer, and I'm still do. You know, I'm still do play with able-bodied people. And when I go to these parks and play, I like, man, maybe if we would have took my legs, it would be a different story. You know, I would be depressed, but you know, I'm here. I'm blessed. You know, I can't complain. I manage my wife company. She got a pretty huge company. I was doing the invoices all this week, and we got about 37 clinics that I manage. I use all that with my computer. What I have done is I got a mouse that it was for the palm of my house, but I put it in the ground and I use it with my feet, you know. And that's what I've been doing, you know. I drive like you know, I got a ring on my steering wheel and I drive. There's a few things that I'm not able to do, or some things that I'm not able to be the same as before. But the main thing is I'm still able to accomplish, you know. And I'm here try to motivate other people to showing that you know that life is not over.
Juan, thank you so much for sharing that amazing story. And I definitely want to thank you for your service for this country and what you've done and what you've given. I just thank you so much, especially on one of America's most stressful times during that as well. So thank you so much for your service. The the mindset that you have now is, I mean, you gave me goosebumps throughout this whole entire thing. And the fact that you are humble and the words that you use are blessed, and the opportunities that you personally see, they're unmatched. I mean, it's kind of hard because I'm choking up inside just because you don't meet people like you, right? A lot of this is the woe is me, and they kind of go down that depressed life. And the fact that you've done this and your mindset is absolutely beautiful. I think you are a true gift, very rare gift that this planet has given. And I just want to say thank you. Before I ask any questions, I just wanted to say that.
Oh man, thank you. Appreciate it. Your words. Appreciate for your words. Honestly, man, I think in the God put us through situations, and it's on us if we wanted to see it. You know, I'm gonna tell you a story that's kind of my switch. What it changed to me, right? And I don't get me wrong. For me to be here today, you know, I cried. I was depressed. I wanted to die. I didn't want it to continue in life because just remember, I was a soldier. I weighed 200 pounds, man. You know, I was a leader. I had soldiers to give orders, to tell them what to do, and to see myself on a bed, not able to do anything. Anybody have to do everything for me. You know, I think life was over. Who want to continue living life like that? You know, and one time, man, I was in my bed sleeping, and I was one of those days that I get up and I don't want to live like this. This is not worth it. You know, this sucks. You know, and it sucks because I was so cold. I have the blanket right next to me, and I couldn't put a blanket over my body. So I was like, this is, you know, who is going to enjoy life like this? So I said, I want to die. I don't want to be here. I tell God, you know, now forgive me for that, but I tell God, I don't want to continue. And at that moment, my son, that was only 2 years old, he went into the room. He was playing hide and seek with my brothers. And he went into the room looking for a place to hide. When I saw him, man, I closed my eyes and I pretended I was asleep. I didn't want him to see me that I was crying. You know, at the end I'm his dad and I have to be strong. So he didn't know what's going on. He jumped in the bed, right? He grabbed the blanket, he put it over my body, he gave me a kiss in the forehead and said, Daddy, I love you, and left. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, oh my God. I was just here crying, saying that I want to die, that I don't want to continue. And he gave me all the reasons why I need to keep fighting. Because one of the reasons, what I always say, that I wanted to come back from Iraq, the first time when I went, I wasn't scared, honestly. But the second time I had a child and I want to come back for him because I wanted to raise him. I want to be able to be there for him. And today that I know that I'm back and I've seen him graduating from high school and about to see him graduating from aviation mechanic. And I know a lot of friends of mine didn't have the opportunity, and I tell my son, I know some of them wanted to be here. Somehow, some way they would love to be for their kids, but they couldn't. So I'm blessed that I'm here for you.
No, real quick, I know Vin wants to get in here, but Juan, I think that's probably one of the best things I've ever heard in my entire life. Jeez, I mean, you still got me all choked up again, man. I mean, we're going 16 minutes. This doesn't happen at all. So I think you should write a book. I think you should have some memoirs on here. I think more people need to hear your story, especially for people that are going through struggles in military life and are not personally right in the head. I think your story would really move them. I'm sure Vin can agree with me. You've already moved me, and this is probably one of the best stories I've ever heard in my entire life. And
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I
Appreciate
personally
it.
I personally think when you were going through that mentally, and I was revisited very vividly with you were telling this story so well, is that was a gift from God. Is your son coming in there and playing hide and seek and jumping in bed with you and putting that blanket on. That was one of the blessings of God right there. And the fact that transitioned your whole entire mindset to where you are now, and the motivation and movement that you have now, and the way you visualize life, and the where your son is, and the blessings you have, astronomical, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Every time I talk about it, I want to cry because because I'm living. I think I'm living the best time of my life. Believe it or not, people look at me and say, "How you do it without your hands?" I say, "How you do it with your hands?" You got your hands. Why you not doing it?
It's awesome, man. Juan outworks most people, and they could use 100% of their body. This man's doing 100% with 50%. But no, Juan, I am very happy you're here, man. The coolest part about having you as a guest here today on our podcast is not only about the amazing insight and the story that you have, but the fact that I also know, and part of why I really wanted you on this podcast, because I know you're just getting started. Now I could say I knew Juan before he was Juan, because I have no doubt you're going to become one hell of a speaker one day. And so we get to say we knew the man before he was the man, after he was the other man, and now he's this man. So Juan, tell me a little bit. I know now you continuously you're always finding new endeavors. You're working with your wife. You're managing this company. Like you're a bit of an entrepreneur, and even if you don't fully identify with that, that's okay. You're somewhat of a business owner then, or a C-suite executive, or whatever the case may be, or whatever you'd like to call yourself. What's that like for you? Obviously we're a business and mindset podcast. Can you get a little bit into how it is that you've been supporting, scaling, and growing this business with your wife?
I mean, my wife was, you know what? My wife is the one who put that mindset on me of that we need to, the sky is the limit, honestly. And all I done, every time the opportunity presents, like because of the work that she's doing or the work that we're doing together, you know, however, we get people recommended to other places. I say, let's do it, and we find a way. Just today, I was looking at the numbers and I was like, man, this is scary. It's very impressive how far we have accomplished, but it is because her job. It is because the commitment we have. We go, we travel, and we train with our staff. We train it the way we want it, and we always looking for opportunities to help other people. That also, I think, is a big part of it. We get a lot of these She actually hired a lot of women that are head of a household, and they very appreciated for it. So I think that's the other part that we love of it, that be able to help so many people with what we do.
Juan, can I interject real quick here? First off, very humble and graceful answer, but what is exactly these clinics? What is it that you do? What is it that your wife does?
These are rehabilitation clinics where people are there for drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever you name it, they there because of this. So we provide the services, the cleaning services. We go from cleaning their rooms to do their laundry every day. And just in September of last year, we were doing so. She was doing such a great job here in Florida. We managed 2 or 3 clinics. The person who's had the clinics here in Florida expand and grow, and they now in Dallas, New Jersey, Maine, and they say, "Hey, we only know one person that does the job really good, and that's you." So they call my wife. She was kind of scared because she didn't want to, go out. And I said, "Let's do it. Let's go check it out." We find out as we go what we need to do to keep working in this state. And here we go. I'm here. And when I do the payroll, hey, I need to add this person in the payroll. If I don't know, I chat with people with ADP and ask them, hey, or I call our accountant and say, hey, but I'll figure it out. And
That that's the
that.
entrepreneur mindset right there. The fact that she was scared, but this is the teamwork that we talk about, whether it's a business partner, a husband and wife, you're working with a family member, your best friend, whatever it may be. That's that little push that she needed was you, that comfort, that comfortability. And you, the entrepreneur, like, let's tackle it. This is something new. It's something exciting. Yeah, it's scary, but let's freaking do it. That's how it's done. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we vision ourselves, man, helping other people. So I wanted to go out there and tell my story, but that's like 100% commitment. So we set him this
You
everything
got
this up to let it run, and then But I think this is part of it, because when I go to these clinics, I speak with a lot of people, man, and when they see me, only believe it or not, some of these people that go to me like, "Oh, my problem is in the head," but after seeing you, I'm gonna try to be better, and that's good. That's man, as I was like, man, that's what God had me here. That's what I'm here.
Well, that's a true testament to, why you're I know that you and I had talked before the podcast, and this is why you really want to break into speaking, because you're called to do it, because people need your story.
I
Your
agree.
story is going to get people to realize how lazy they are, how little effort they put in, how their excuses are so full of crap, and once they see you and they hear your story, they are going to be unable to deny their own bullshit anymore. Like, yes, God has a massive purpose for you, and I do believe it is in the power of your voice and your story and your experience, not only through the military, but even as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and Juan,
Thank you.
I personally I want to exactly agree with Vin here, which is why I also said the speaking too. If you don't look at this as a financial thing or a success thing, I'd look at this of how many people you can actually help, because that story is absolutely incredible. What you're doing is absolutely incredible. And I agree that God put you on this planet to help others. I personally think
Amen.
that needs to be something that you should pursue, whether now is the right time or not. But that story is very moving, and I definitely think you can help people.
Thank you. I think God put people in your path. This is the first time I do it. I speak in English. Other times it's been in Spanish. So I was like a little bit uncomfortable. But now that I'm speaking with both of you guys, I'm like really comfortable. I mean, I
Amazing.
learned English as I went into the military. Believe.
Another
Juan,
thing to overcome.
I tell
Juan,
I
can
tell
you?
I tell a lot of people. I say, man, I say, look, if I did it, I came to this country. I did it without knowing the language. I would join the military. It's scary. I was so scared, but I got out of my comfort zone because here I was with my mom. People speak Spanish, and I went out there. I didn't know what I was gonna was being in front of me, but I say I conquered, but with fears, but I did it. And after I did it, I was like, man, this is amazing, and that's what I approach life all the time. I also, man, I know one thing is I don't complain because I learned that there is always in a worse situation than the way we are living, you know, and us always having a worse time than we. And I saw it personally. A quick story right here. When while I was getting after that, I saw that with my leave that with my son. A buddy of mine say, "Hey, let's go to the hospital. We got a friend that just came in or came in last night, and he's in the hospital." And I said, "Oh, cool. Let's go see him." You know, just to give him support, to tell him, "Hey, man, everything's gonna be okay." When I got there, man, I was like, then the nurse say, I didn't know what was going on, but the nurse say, "Oh, he's over there. He got shot right here, like by the shoulder, and he won't be able to walk again." I was like, "Oh my god!" And he's actually breathing through a ventilator. And that was kind of one of the first time I feel like what happened to me. It was like this little, you know. When I saw my body there, I was like, "Oh man," you know. And so from that point on, I learned also. I say, "Man, there's always someone in a worse situation than me," you know. And he lived and he become, he's still paralyzed, but I remember that day, and I was like, "Man, I can't complain. How I want to complain just because I don't have my hands."
That's that's a really good one. I was actually going to ask you about what has been a pivotal moment for you to really transform your mindset. And it sounds like you just gave the answer without me having to ask it, but you're right. I think a lot of the struggles that people have, so hopefully some of our listeners are resonating with this too, but the struggle that most people have is that there's a massive gap in perspective. There's always somebody that's going to have it worse than you. There's always somebody that's also going to have it better than you. But the secret is the person who has it better than you is not sitting there constantly comparing themselves to people that have it better than them. They're comparing themselves to the fact that they are still having so much more to give in this world and that they still have the opportunity to give more to this world because they're recognizing that they're in this space where they're very fortunate for what they do have. There's an attitude of gratitude that could carry you so far. And it sounds like that's really what you've held on to. Every pivotal moment and transformational piece in your life has been from you implementing an attitude of gratitude where you saw that somebody had it worse from a similar situation, like, oh crap, but look at the opportunity I have from that. Or you had that moment of the love from your son and you're like, oh my God, again, look what I have. Like your story, Juan, your story is
Goosebumps
look
again,
at
Vin.
what I have. It's amazing.
Even you telling it again, Vin, I get goosebumps again by just saying it again. I actually do want to hear it outside of that about, the not complaining and pressing forward and the no comparisons. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten that you apply to yourself, that you apply to your family, to your son, to other people? What's the best piece of advice you've ever
It,
gotten?
it was a quote by Charles Sweden, and the day that I was about to go and amputate my right hand, my first hand, I read it was a picture right there in the doctor's office, and they talk about say the attitude, your attitude is better than having talent, and he says having a positive attitude is better than having talent. Your past, you can do nothing about your past, you know you cannot fix it, you can do anything. And then at the end it says the life is 10% what happened to you, and 90% how you react to everything that happens to you. So, and the best thing is that you're in charge of your own attitude. So that's what you always see me around. You always see me laughing, joking. You never see me down, pretty much. I'm always, if it's bad, I say, "Hey, this happened for a reason. This happened, and I'm gonna learn. Man, I don't know now, but maybe later I'll find out why this happened."
Juan, I got a following question that I think might be a little deep and
Man
answer
of
it
God,
as
Juan.
honestly as you could. Do you think there's ever a reason for anybody to be upset?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, no. I mean, honestly, no. Why? Why you should be upset? You just have to think that everything that happens to you, it has a reason behind. You don't know at the moment, and you can get upset. Because I was upset. I was upset with other people, but and I was upset with God, But now, with the years, I find out why, and that's helping other people. Be here for my son, you know my son never asked me until he was like 10 years old, and I remember I was eating some chicken wings, and he said, "Is it hard not having your hands?" And I man, I was expecting that for him, you know. It was like 10 or 11 years old. I put the chicken wings down, and I say, "It is hard, but it was really harder not to be here with you, you know, for you or for me. So I'm good with this, you know." And I don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm in discomfort all the time, because being burned is one of the hardest things. It's hard. Not maybe not the hardest, because it's more things out there that could be harder than this. But I'm always if I move my head to the left, my lip moves. You know, so I'm always in discomfort. But I say, look, I'm here. I'm alive. I get up every day at 4 or 5 in the morning. I do my exercise. I read book, and then I get in the computer. You know, and then I take my daughter to the daycare. I go pick it up. I do everything, man, like a normal person.
I love everything about this. Shane, I know you got one in the gun. Go shoot.
I just want to be best friends with you.
Hey, whenever you
Uh,
come to Florida, man, we're here. We can go have lunch, whatever, dinner.
I'm definitely going to hold you to that.
Sure.
To be honest, Juan, I see a lot of people that put God first, because you're a man of God, and I see people who put God first and love God first before everything else. It's the same type of mindset. It's just the fact of what you've been through and where you are now is something completely different than just a man of God. And I think it's just me being repetitive at this point. I just want to hear more of you. And I think that's what I really, really want. I want to hear more of Juan. I want to hear more of this story. I want more people to be moved. It's I had questions. I probably can have you here all day, Juan. Really, but I want to switch the advice over on a different notion. People that are. What's the best piece of advice that you can give somebody that is not, either mentally in the right space, or that is actively searching for a better life or to get with God? What advice can you give? I know the positivity here, but is there anything else that you'd wish to say here?
Man, I think just to do what he's passionate, what he loves to do, you know, what he's passionate about it, and then just trust the process. You know, there is gonna be ups and downs, like everything. You know, when my wife started this company, I knew days that she said she cried because she couldn't pay herself. She just got the money for the employees. But now, because the work that she put into it, and the we do a lot of sacrifice, you know, and that's when she goes away from our daughter, she's in another state. She call and then she like, I don't want to be here. That's part of the sacrifice that people sometimes don't see. But for you to succeed, you have to sacrifice a lot of things in life, you know. I remember when I joined the military, my mom say after a year and a half, I was away from her for 6 years, and when I say, hey, I'm gonna go, I didn't tell no one. I say, I'm just gonna go. I told her, I'm leaving this day after your birthday. She started crying because she said she thought that I was gonna spend more time with her before I depart to military. But then later on, I told her, I said, if you would have go with me to recruit and you would have said that there, I might be able to, okay, maybe one more year. But now, man, I tell people just follow their dreams, trust the process. Don't give up. Don't give up. You don't know what's in the next years. I had my mom, my son's mom told me one time because I was asking for pills. I say, yo, look, give me pills. I'm on pain. I'm on pain. I asked many pills, but and inside of me, I was praying because I didn't want to get up the next day. And she sit right next to me. She put all the pills. She said, if you want, I can give you all these pills. And I know you need a lot of pain. You don't need all these pills, but I know what you want. You want to die. And she said, let's say that you die and you go up there, right? And when you up there, God say, if you would have waited, this is what I have for you. So I was like, and now I say I live in the best thing of my life. As I remember that moment, I was like, man, So I waited, and become very positive, and grateful. I think grateful is one of the main things. that helped me succeed. Honestly, being grateful of everything.
I love it, man.
Story after story.
Well,
He's so Juan.
we
Amazing.
we can definitely stay here all day, but obviously we can't do that. So we'll just have to bother Juan after the podcast on his free time. But with that being said, Juan, we have a few final questions for you, two to be specific. One is this. As you know, we are the 1% podcast. And our premise of this podcast is that you don't have to be a billionaire to be a 1%. It really is about a way of life. How do you show up? What are you trying to excel at, be excellent at, be amazing at? And how do you exemplify being a 1% person with a 1% life? And so the question to you is this: what is your version of a 1% life?
I think the person that will be able to inspire others, the person that always laugh no matter what, that's the 1% person on life. Sometimes it's not all about money, it's about helping others. So I think but for me, a person who inspire others, that's the best 1% person.
Beautiful and very well said, as was the rest of the podcast.
This was, and I apologize for all the other 1%er entrepreneurs, but this was the best podcast I've ever done in my entire life. Thank you, Juan, so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So one last thing, my friend. Please tell and stick around for a minute after the podcast. But please, can you tell our listeners, is there anything that you'd love for them to do? Should they get in touch with you? Is there a way for them to connect with your company? Is there something you're specifically looking for? Like, how can people connect with you, follow your story, or is there anything specifically you'd love to ask people?
I just do it through my Instagram, at Juan Alejandro Amaris, and I show pretty much things of my daily basis, what I do, what I'm able to do without my hands, showing that I live normal life, Also, if people in need of a cleaning company for detox, commercial, here in Florida, we're here in Florida, New Jersey, in Texas, and in Portland, Maine.
Love it, man.
I'm following you right after this.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Shane.
Yeah, Juan, I was shocked we weren't connected on Instagram. I just followed you as well, but you got my good buddy Nick Santanastasso following you. We just had him on the podcast too.
Great
Oh
guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Actually, this is a coincidence. Like I saw him in a restaurant, right? And I paid for his meal. I said, "Yo, bro, you inspire me to become a speaker, a motivational speaker to tell my story." Because I follow him, and then he's a good friend of a guy named Ryan something. I don't know if you know
Ryan Zofay.
Ryan Zofay. So Ryan Zofay had some clinics that we used to clean for him, He has, and I say, Ryan? I said, me and my wife know Ryan because his dad passed away. So we know the whole story with Ryan. So we go back. We used to clean someone's detox.
The world is so connected, everybody. I know that we were supposed to end it right there, but it's just a testament to how connected the world really is. So
I know.
Everybody remember that.
Yeah.
So I went for everything.
The way we got connected, I went to New York actually went to like a golf tournament to speak a little bit. And then this guy invited me to New York. And then right next to me, there was another guy who was asking a lot of questions about the stock market. And I was like, man, I don't know much about the stock market. And he said, also, what happened? So I told my story. I'm going to connect you with two of my buddies. And there was you and then somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You got connected to me through my friend Dalton. We had him on the podcast too.
There we go.
So yeah, man, the world is awesome, and even that right there. Okay, we have to end after this, but even that right there, one of the truest and greatest things, aside from all the other amazing info on today's podcast, is even this testament of like the power of relationships. Like Juan, you, me, Shane, we're all friends now, and we met through friends, and we're gonna probably meet more friends through each other, and that's the really cool part of life. So everybody, and Juan, hang out for a minute after. But as always, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the 1% Podcast. Shane, go ahead, man. I know you want to close it out since you started the whole thing.
Like, share, comment, follow, reach out to Juan,
subscribe,
find out more, subscribe. Yes. But yeah, this is the first time, so don't get used to it for me. But I'm your host, Shane.
I'm Vin. And that was Juan, everybody. See ya.
Thank you.